Welcome to episode 24 of Lost in Translation with Bobby Martin. I'm Sam Perkins. We're coming to you, as always, from the WCTV studios in Wilmington, Massachusetts. Today we are joined by Northeastern. I mean, they don't really go by traditional positions anymore. We'll call him power forward. We'll call him bruising but skilled big man. Low major, maybe, or mid-major. Northeastern's not a low major, but mid-major 4-5, high major 3-4. Just basketball player in general. Christ Doherty. Chris, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, Chris, how are you feeling? You're going into, is this your fifth year or sixth year?
Sixth year, because of COVID and everything.
Wow. How does it feel? You're heading into you're coming off of your sixth off season. You're heading into your sixth back on campus, getting ready for the season to start.
I'm definitely feeling it now. The first couple of summers you like it, but by now I'm kind of over the summer school thing. But for me, I was kind of lucky because this year I'd finished my undergrad in the spring, so I was able to take no classes, just be on campus and work on my game, which has been allowed me to take a tremendous step. So,
Bobby, you and Chris didn't actually overlap at Northeastern, or did you? Was there an overlap between you guys, or no?
So, as I remember it, Chris was looking for schools, and you came in on an unofficial to Northeastern.
Yeah, the fall of my senior year.
Right, the fall of his senior year. He came into Northeastern, and I was actually the coach that took him around on his visit. So it was you, your mom, was it someone else?
Just me and my mom.
Just you and your mom, okay. Yeah, and I remember that was the first visit that Bill had said, all right, you're going to take the kid on the campus visit. So I remember preparing for it, and I'm running around trying to figure out what all the buildings, what they signified and things like that. But I think I did a pretty good job, and I was able to tell a couple of stories. So, yeah, I definitely remember.
Chris, you've got an advantage over when I was at Northeastern as an undergrad. When I was actually there as an athlete back in the early 2000s, the Marino Center wasn't there yet, There was a lot of stuff that's been built up since then. I will say we did have Punter's Pub. We did have Chicken Lou's, which is, R.I.P. I miss those places. But the Pizzeria Uno that used to exist was a cool place to hang out, after events and stuff. But overall, I think you've definitely got an advantage in the amenities there now as a student athlete. So let me ask you, you're a graduate student now. Mm-hmm. You came back for a sixth year. Yeah. Sixth year was kind of, when I was an athlete, when Bobby was an athlete, was really unheard of, with the exception of like really special circumstances, so a severe illness, severe injury, death in someone's family. And the game has really changed because of COVID and some of the transfer rule and all that sort of stuff. What made you decide to come back for another year? Because there are players now, I feel like right during, there were guys that like that first year, they're like, yeah, no, I'm totally going to come back for a sixth year. My life was so thrown off. But as you get further out from the lost COVID year, you're seeing some players who are, more of them are kind of like, I'm ready to start the next phase of my life. I don't want to keep going to school. I'm going to either try and hoop or join the professional world of maybe not athletics, but something. What made you decide to come back?
I think initially hearing 6 years in college, I was not sold on the idea at all. But just being at Northeastern the past 4 years, a year and a half was affected by COVID. We had that really shortened season, and then even the year after COVID, I think we missed like 3 weeks in the middle of December. But then last year, I didn't have the year I wanted to, but I had still talked to some agents after the season about going overseas. But I just didn't think I was ready, per se, to like play at the level I want to play at. And I know coming back, I know the coaches, they're very good at developing players. Coach Manny Adako, he's helped my game grow tremendously, and I just wanted another year of that. So,
I am going to take credit for you going to Northeastern. All right, I'm definitely going to take credit because
as you
may
should
have chosen Notre Dame. But this is one of the mistakes I made as a coach. One of my best friends coached at Notre Dame, and he calls me, and he says, hey, what do you think about this Doherty kid? And I'm like, you know what? The kid's a beast. He's hungry. He's talented. believe you're a lefty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a lefty. Tough to guard, man. Yeah, he can play in the Big East. He's like, man, I'm thinking about recruiting. I'm like, dude, you better not recruit him, man. I want to go after this kid. But I knew that, as hard as I was going to try, probably wasn't going to win over Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Wasn't going to get it. But in hindsight, you thought better and you came back to where you belong. So I'm going to take credit for that one.
Before we because I wanted to ask you about growing up in Marlboro, and we've talked to a bunch of hoopers. It's funny, it's the Mike St. John pipeline here as far as Big Mike is a friend of mine. He's a friend of the show, came on, and then, there are guys that I'll be like, hey, like, that I know he's worked with, or can you put us in touch? That'd be great on the show. But you don't think of the Borough area as like a major hoops hotbed, but like you got Zach August, you've got you've got there's a bunch of younger kids now that are playing lower D1, like Todd Brogna's going to Stonehill. There's a bunch of other kids that I've talked with Big Mike about. Austin Hunt is going to Harvard, but for a small area that there are a decent amount of D1 hoopers. How does that journey start? Where does it start for you in basketball? Was it always basketball? And how do you get from, Marlboro is a city. I lived there for a year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did.
Where about?
I lived over on Mechanic Street.
Oh,
it was like, I was figuring things out in life. I spent a year there. I was in the little Brazil section of Marlboro. So
are you saying that Marlboro is the place you go to figure out where you want to be in life?
I don't know. I mean, for me it was, but I think it was
don't figure it out there.
But. Yeah, I think it was just circumstance for me that finding an affordable apartment. And but how does that journey start for you in basketball? And when you first picked up a ball, would you think it would take you to free college, Division I, opportunities to play professionally afterwards?
To be honest, I didn't really like basketball until probably middle school. Really, that's when I started to focus on it more. So growing up, it was baseball and football. My dad comes from a pretty decent basketball family. My uncle played at BC in the '80s. He was an All-American. So
who was your uncle?
Russ Doherty. Okay. Went to Wayland High. So I mean, I always knew that basketball was kind of going to be my calling eventually, and I knew without a sport, I probably wasn't going to go to college because I come from a single-parent household, just me and my mom. So I knew I had to figure it out one way or the other and had to go through a sport. So
your dad played at BC, so he
no, my uncle did.
Your uncle did. So he played with Jay Murphy?
Yeah, he was a freshman when Jay Murphy was a senior. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So you talked about growing up in a single parent household and how much basketball was. What would you be willing to say about growing up and about?
So I mean, it was just me and my mom. My dad, he's around, but he's struggled with drugs and alcohol throughout my entire life. He's not a lot better now than what he was. But me and my mom, we lived with my grandparents. I would say my grandfather was the most constant male figure. So, we had a great guest, Greg Moulton, on who I knew Greg when he was a kid, and I was just getting into being a teacher for a while, and he was a really good basketball player, and then he struggled with addiction. It kind of cost him, his opportunities to play. But just what would you say as a young kid about the impact on you? I mean, my mom and my mom's family definitely tried to shelter me from it. I knew my dad struggled. You see things you don't want your kids to see when you become a parent or whatnot, but I think it made me who I am. So, I mean, I can't look back and be angry on it because I don't know if I'd be here if it wasn't for the things I experienced growing up.
So I'm interested. So you grew up in a single-parent family. This was your mom. Mm-hmm. What was that like?
There was definitely struggles, but my grandfather was very supportive for us, so that definitely helped. Probably without him, my life could also be very different because I definitely wouldn't have had a stable home without him, so I definitely thank him for that. But my mom was obviously loving, always there for me. She struggles with drinking not as much as my dad. They both been to treatment for it, so I give them credit for that, trying to get better. I mean, addiction is obviously a scary thing, a sickness, so...
Has that impacted your everybody, you go to college, everybody, it's like people hear about party, everything. And even in high school, everywhere, but especially when you get out into you get farther away from like urban areas. And I know Marlboro is a city, but it's not like a big metropolitan city, and it's surrounded by small like boroughs. Did seeing their struggles, has that had an impact on your life when it comes to, being around alcohol, drugs, anything like that?
I mean, I'm in college, so I like to have a good time, obviously, but I try to limit it. Because, college is all these different things going around. Like, you leave home for the first time. So it's definitely, you got I know what it's done to people that I'm close to, so I try not to let it take advantage of me, but
so I'm interested.
I like to have fun responsibly.
So you started off at Notre Dame, and you end up at Northeastern. What's the party like at both schools?
I mean, Indiana's a lot different. My visit to Notre Dame was obviously awesome. You go to a football game. Everybody knows the athletes there because it's really all there is in South Bend, Indiana. Not much going on. It's definitely a lot different. Boston's obviously a big city. The one difference that I like more about Northeastern, I would say, is like during winter break when you're on campus for like the whole month or whatever, Notre Dame's empty because there's nothing there. But Boston you're in a city, so you got other things going on. Because that month when everybody's off campus, it could be a real grind, especially in the South Bend, Indiana winters. Like it gets cold. It gets cold too, cold and windy. Like the lake
is
effect,
brutal out there, man.
Yeah. Nice campus though. Can't complain about their campus.
Yeah. So you grow up in Marlboro and you wind up in South Bend. You wind up at a high major to start. That's a journey that almost nobody from anywhere, but let alone smaller cities, smaller towns, makes. How does that journey happen? How do you wind up from a kid who it's kind of not until middle school that you're like, all right, yeah, basketball is kind of going to be my thing, to going to high major Power 5 school?
I mean, it's kind of weird. I've actually been thinking about this recently. I really didn't work out in terms of like skill work until I got to college. Growing up, it was mostly just playing at the parks, AAU or whatnot. And that, like, my skill, coaches always told me recruiting was I played hard. But like I really never had the other like offensive skill set because when I was growing up, I feel like skill coaches weren't as common as they are now. Now you can go on Instagram, there's a million of them, and finding gym time was definitely hard. But I think just working hard with what I had definitely got me there. I definitely not regret, but look back and wish maybe I did things a little different in terms of trying to be more proactive in finding a skill coach, or maybe going to prep school, which is a whole nother issue. But
so I remember you when you were at Marlboro High School, and this is just to enter into 6 degrees of separation here. I was training a kid at the time who was at Concord Carlisle, Eric Salou.
Okay, yeah, I remember him.
And you guys met 2 years in a row in the playoffs.
Yes. Okay,
the first year, you guys, it was a close game until you turned it up, and you had a guard who was really hot at that time. And I mean, he turned it up, and you guys ended up winning. Okay, the second year they beat you guys, right? And Eric ended up getting Gatorade Player of the Year in Massachusetts. Now, the talent level of you two comparatively is night and day. All right. He may have been a little bit more skilled at the time, but I remember you were the reason that Eric wanted to get better because you played hard. You were super intense, a little bit of a hothead, which helped you. All right, which actually helped you. And I remember when I got the invitation or the opportunity to coach at Northeastern, I was like, man, this is one of the kids I've got to recruit. This kid is unbelievable. And I'm pretty sad I lost out on it.
Did you end up going to a prep or did you?
No. So after my 8th grade year at Marlboro Middle School, I went to Hillside. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. Like Terrence Mann and a couple other people, it's actually in Marlboro. It's like down some farm road, like at the edge of Marlboro. But I went there, and I kind of think that was kind of a bad it was a bad first experience at prep school because the school's like 150 kids. You have assigned like seats at lunch. I need to work on a farm, so it was definitely like a bad first experience.
Really?
I mean, I'm not talking down on the school. Like, I met some good people, great people there.
It wasn't for you.
Yeah, it just wasn't for me. And I thought that's what prep school was all like. But I mean, I'm talking to kids now from AAU. They said like they had some great times at prep school and whatnot. But I don't know. My family's all from Marlboro, like 7th generation. So I kind of felt the sense of loyalty. And then getting so close to winning a state championship my freshman year, I just wanted it so bad. I mean, we never achieved it, but we did some good things.
So you went from Marlboro High to Notre Dame?
Yeah.
That is, especially in this day and age, like we've talked on the show, you know, I graduated high school in 2002, back when, you know, prep school wasn't as big a thing. You still had a lot of kids from the public getting recruited to play D1, you know, offers. A bunch of my teammates, myself, in different sports got, you know, the opportunity to do that. But by the time that you came along, it's really kind of unheard of to not, or I don't want to say unheard of, but it's an outlier to be a kid in a state like Massachusetts. Yeah. You're not allowed to practice with your coach outside of season. You're not allowed to.
Yeah.
To go from just public right into D1, let alone like high major D1. How did you get seen by them? What was how does that?
So I played with the New England Players on the Adidas circuit. They're no longer a team because of things that happened. But
TJ. And
people have their opinion on TJ, but
I love TJ.
Yeah,
I still love him. Shout out to TJ Gasnola.
Yeah,
what's going on, man?
No, yeah, he's one of the most loyal people I've met. And I had him and John Carroll. He coached the Celtics actually for a few years. So we were gone from like mid-June to like early August every summer. And then when you're on the Adidas circuit, you're just playing in front of coaches every weekend. And we actually lost in the Adidas championship my final year at the buzzer to a team with they had like Armando Bacot, Oscar Tshiebwe, and David McCormick. So they had some high major big guys. Lost at the buzzer, but that's kind of how I got my notoriety, like how I got recruited.
What was it about Notre Dame? Because I know that you had other offers. I'm remember at the time when you were getting, because I always kind of kept up on the local kids that were actually, at that level, local being Massachusetts kids. Yeah. But, I know you had other offers, other opportunities. What was it about Notre Dame? Why did you choose there?
I mean, they've had success with, like, undersized big guys. That was a big thing. The campus was obviously amazing, high academics. And then it was kind of cool because Zach August, he's from Marlboro, he went there, so that was kind of like a cool thing, kind of following his footsteps.
So here's my question. What did you learn from it? Because, obviously you transferred.
Yeah.
Right? What was it that made you consider transferring? What was it that you weren't getting?
Mm-hmm. Definitely lack of playing time. I was playing behind, like, John Mooney. He was could have been an All-American, in my opinion. Juwan Durham, Nate Leshevsky, so, like, high-level guys. I wanted the playing time, and being far from home. Like, initially, when you're looking at schools, you're like, "Oh, this is awesome! Get to get away from all the bullshit at home or whatnot." Yeah. So that was definitely cool. But then when you realize, when you're out there, like I said, the winters during spring break are nothing enjoyable, and it just wasn't for me. I would say I just knew I needed a change, and I remember right away when I put my name in the transfer portal, like, other schools were hitting me up, but I remember I really like Northeastern, I like the campus, the coaching staff.
Yeah. So you should have.
No, I really did. But like in high school, you just want to get away. Maybe you don't realize how much of a grind you're gone. Probably 10 months of the year, so you don't realize it. You're just looking at like, oh, this and that. But I remember I was really hoping Northeastern would reach back out, and actually Coach Mark he reached out like the first day, but I didn't see it because, when you're entering the transfer portal, you get a lot of text or whatnot, and I didn't see it for like 2 days, and I saw it. Like I had read it but never got back to him, so I reached out and like apologized, hoping they were still interested, and it worked out well. So.
Nice.
So Mark Wood is a guy who actually started his career at Notre Dame. He's from Maine, so even smaller area. He went to Notre Dame and then transferred back to his home state school to Maine. Did that ever come up between the two of you when he was recruiting you, or when in passing that he had kind of gone through that same sort of, going to a bigger school, coming back home? Was that ever something that was discussed?
Yeah, he talked about it a little bit, and he also he played with Coach Humphreys when he was there, so there's a little connection there. So it was all good.
Was you said that you kind of I could relate to wanting to get away when you first kind of get out, and then when you get away, I had similar experiences. You kind of start to miss things about home. You start to miss support system. You start to miss like when I got away from home, I had like no structure in college, and I was just like, But when you came back, was it hard at all? Was there any part of you that was like, I had signed to go to this big time school, and now I'm coming back to a smaller school back home? Was there any part of you that felt like, maybe go see somewhere else? See, because I'm sure there were some other higher major schools in Northeastern that came and checked you out and hit you up. And did any part of you think like going back to Northeastern to a step down was like a step down? I don't want to say a step down because I love I went back there for graduate school. I love Northeastern,
but like a punch to your pride.
Exactly, that's exactly. Did it feel like a punch to your pride at all? To
not really at all, to be honest. Because like I said, I love the coaches. Being close to home is obviously a positive. My grandfather was going to get his chance to see me play, but then COVID hit and he passed away. But it was like I really didn't think about it like that. I mean, it's a great school, obviously. I got to major in something I'm interested in, so I really couldn't complain. I think maybe now more so as I've been there and my skills have really developed because I've been actually able to work on my game. I think about like what would have happened if I had taken it more serious. Not saying I didn't take it seriously, but really put in the time, like when I was younger, like what I could have done. But I mean, you can't have regret. I'm still going to college for free. Probably wouldn't have gone to college, so
yeah,
I got no complaints.
I would think that if I'm thinking as a player that the punch to my pride was probably already given at Notre Dame when you weren't playing.
Yeah, definitely.
So at that point, you're like, I don't care where I go. I just want to find some place where I can play.
Yeah, I'm a competitor, so I want to be out there.
Exactly. That was more
the thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're a guy that I remember when Northeastern landed you, and I was pretty pumped about that. Like I stay connected with my alma mater, and your lucky number again. I don't want to say lucky, but like it's not luck, but this is luck that they're back in Matthews Arena because when I was there, it was all in Cabot Gym.
Oh, yeah.
I love Matthews. I will always love Matthews. One of the last things I ever did with my dad before he passed away when I was a teenager is I went to the America East basketball tournament there with him. And it just I was in high school, but it has a very special place in my heart. Just I was getting looked at by Northeastern, and just it felt like the old Boston Garden, like it's got all the old beams and pillars.
It's a little outdated now. They might need to renovate it in the coming years.
Yeah. I mean, you guys do have that gigantic jumbotron there in the middle, which every time I see a three-pointer go up, I'm like, is it going to hit that? Like, it just feels so oversized. But I love the vibe in Matthews because it's so, like, it's historic. It's like the oldest, I think, basketball arena still in use in the U.S. and maybe in the world. But you said that when you went there, you were going to be able to. It was big to you. You talked about the impact your grandfather had on you, and to have him get to watch you, and then COVID, and then he passed away, and just I don't like bringing up things like that, except those are life experiences.
Right.
I lost both my parents unexpectedly and at different times, and just what was that like for you to go through that, and then that be a part of your decision, and him not get to see you?
Yeah, he fought in Vietnam, so he had COPD or whatnot. So I knew he had been struggling for a while. And it was actually we played at the one that really like pisses me off was when I was at Notre Dame. We played at BC in like February or whatever, and I was gonna be like his first college game. He was gonna see me playing, but he ended up in the hospital like the night or two before, so he didn't get to see that. So that one really, I still think about that. But I was excited to come back so he could come and see me and play some games. But life happens. It was tough when he passed away, right? Like a couple days after my birthday, and I actually had COVID when it happened. So I still think about that. Like I don't know if I'll ever get over that. You really didn't get to have those last moments together, but it's life. And he was a great guy, so I made a lot of great memories. So
you did have some really great moments with him. That's awesome.
For sure, yeah, definitely.
I think for any of the younger kids looking at this, what you're talking about addresses a huge issue, an issue that I would call a lie. The fragility of this generation. You know, when you've gone through that much and you still come out and now you're working on your master's, dude, there is nothing fragile about this generation. Nothing whatsoever.
I hate it when you hear people talking about this generation's soft. You know, everything. It's like every generation goes through terrible things. Don't get me wrong. I'm not here saying but this generation isn't soft when you look at like other things, like how hard it is to make a living in the world now, and how unaffordable housing is. And
every generation has its struggles.
Yeah,
sure.
Exactly. But without those struggles, how do you ever grow?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean, that's what I'm hearing right now. I'm hearing how you've grown through the struggles. Yeah. It's awesome.
I was actually listening to the podcast with you guys, with Mark Flavin or whatever.
Yeah, Flav. Yeah,
I was actually listening to last night just to get an idea of everything. But like, it seemed like he had some a humble upbringing and whatnot, and he seemed like he turned out.
Flav's a great guy. Flav was a friggin' maniac when we were both in college. Oh my God. Mark Flavin has the distinction of being possibly the only player to ever headbutt a Northeastern player in the middle of a game when he was at Maine.
Wow. I wouldn't even do that, yeah.
He was... We did this story. Northeastern had a guy, Bennett Davis. Shout out to Bennett. Was an awesome player, great athlete, 6'9". But Bennett, him and Mark just kept getting tangled up. And I just remember Mark was like, if you do that again, I'm going to knock you out. Elbow, run down to the end of the court. Flav just turns around and just bam, headbutts him right in the middle of the game. They both get thrown out. John Giannini, the coach at Maine at the time when Flav was there with his all super raspy voice, is just like, nice job, Flav. You lost us the game while Flav's But, speaking of sort of being a competitor, one of the things that always stood out to me from you, I got to see a little bit in high school, and then when you came to Northeastern, and Bobby and I have talked over the years about bigs. I'm not a big. I'm 5'8", 5'9". My dad was 6'7". He played out at UMass, so I didn't get his height, unfortunately. But I've always loved bigs, and but one of the things is finding bigs that play hard. I think Bobby can attest to this, that it's tough, and bigs with a motor is tough, and that's a big thing when you find a big with a motor and you play hard, man. Has that always been the case? Where does that come from on the court? Like, you play hard.
Well, like I was saying, I really didn't work on my skill set, but that was kind of my thing. Like, just play hard and you'll get noticed or whatnot. I don't know, like getting on when you step on the court, like off the court, I'm pretty laid back for sure. But like when I step on the court, I don't know, like maybe the demons in my childhood come out a little bit more or something. I don't know, and it's just like I flip another switch. It's definitely pros and cons to it for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I was just brought up give everything you have. So,
Bobby, what do you remember about? I mean, you talked a little bit about, but what do you remember about Chris as a player? When he was in high school, and did you see any changes? I know you weren't there when he actually took the court, but you've stayed connected to the game. You follow things. Have you seen an evolution of Chris's game since high school, since you saw him back when they were playing Concord Carlisle, to the player that he is today?
So the biggest part of his evolution is that he's learned how to slow down. I remember a player who was just super hyped, whose emotions would get in the way of him being productive. I remember a player who was not adverse to throwing an elbow. All right, and I've seen calm. I've seen a calmer part of him that's allowed him to contribute more to the team, and I think that's probably what I enjoy the most. The way he played has always been attractive. That's going to be attractive to any coach because you don't have guys that play like that. You just don't have.
You don't have. You don't have bigs that want to get big on people. A lot of the time. And Chris, I know, has skill. I've seen you shoot. I've seen you, but you can do some stuff off the dribble, which is surprising for a guy. But like, actually goes on the blocks, beats people up, gets second chance points. It's fun to see. You don't see it as much anymore. But so that is super attractive. But I'm wondering, Chris, have you seen in yourself? Sometimes we don't realize our own evolution until we take a step back. Have you been aware of the growth in yourself as a player?
I think it started at Notre Dame for sure. I just felt myself being more comfortable with the ball and whatnot, and because obviously Coach Hump's a great skill developer and whatnot. But he was a little bit more athletic than me, so he would show us some stuff that I was like, I don't know if I can do that. But and then coming to Northeastern, no knock on Manny. I think me and him are more similar in terms of our athletic. In terms of how athletic we are.
I think you've got to step up on Manny as far as
maybe a little bit. But
shout out to Manny and Dr. Man. What's going on, man?
But no, so yeah, Manny's really taken my game to the next level. And Coach Cohen, I mean, gave me the confidence to put the ball in my hands pretty frequently, and yeah, me and Manny have put in a lot of good work the past 3 years or whatnot, and I'm excited for this upcoming year. We've had a good summer. So
speaking that way about Manny, your next workouts are going to be brutal.
He keeps it cool. He keeps it cool. I'm a veteran now, so I feel it the next day.
Parting gift.
Manny's a great dude. What would you just say as a whole about the coaching staff? I've played for the number of good coaches I think that I've played for that is dwarfed by the number of not so good coaches that I've played for, just in life. And I think unfortunately that's the case for a lot of young athletes. Is people get into coaching for different reasons that aren't necessarily about mentoring or developing the player and the person. They're about other things. And just what would you say about the coaching staff at Northeastern? Because I think you have the opportunity to transfer again. You have extra years. You graduate. You're a graduate student. You could go somewhere else. You come back. You do 4 years for the same staff, 6 years total in college, but the last 4 with them. That's not necessarily the norm these days. So you must have a decent relationship, I would think, with the staff. What would you say about the staff?
Yeah, so the coaching staff, it's a great group. To be honest, my favorite's probably Coach Murphy. He's been there for
that was going to be my question. Coach
he reminds me so much of my grandfather. So I don't know. I just go in there. We just chop it up about anything, not even basketball. But he's always making sure I get my 100 free throws in and everything. But all the coaches are great people, and they're willing to help you reach the level you want to get to if you're going to put in the work. I definitely had chances to transfer after this past year, but I just feel so comfortable, and I know the kind of skill development that they can. I know the type of skill developers they are, so I just didn't see a reason to leave. And you see all the NLI money and whatnot.
Yeah,
that's cool and everything, but it's at the end of the day, it's basketball. I want to get better for hopefully a career overseas. So I didn't really see a reason to leave.
So I have a random non-basketball question for you, but if someone's in the Marlboro area, so I lived in Marlboro, I lived in Westboro, I lived in Worcester. Worcester's different, but I loved Worcester too. So I loved Worcester a lot, actually. But what are your spots to go get something to eat in the borough area if you're out there? Yeah,
Marlboro's it's pretty diverse. A lot of Brazilian and Spanish people, so we get some good Spanish food. Zarape on Maple Street. I read it was voted the best burritos in New England. I don't know if that was false advertising, but they're definitely up there. So I would say that Fireflies on Route 20 is very good. The Fix, well, we get some spots. So
and
definitely no shortage of food options.
And now that you're on campus at Northeastern, as a student athlete, I think a lot of people don't realize that it's a job when you're a Division I student athlete. So you don't get a lot of downtime, but there is a little bit here and there. What are your places to go in the Boston area around Northeastern? It could be food, it could be whatever. What do you do when you're?
In what sense? Like a Saturday night or for food?
Let's go both. Let's go for food and let's go Saturday night.
All right. Food. I really like. Boston Burger Company.
Okay, yep.
I don't know what street it's on. I just know where it is. I really like that. And then on a Saturday night, Fenway area is cool, or Faneuil Hall, but it's expensive. So you can't.
Oh, yeah, I know.
It's definitely expensive.
I was going to say, y'all living large. You're going to Faneuil Hall.
No.
Find some rich friends.
Right. Jeez.
Northeastern's a school.
Yeah. So, what are your goals for this season? You're heading into the last rodeo, so to speak. what goals do you have for the final year? And I know things, obviously probably unfinished business brought you back, as we talked about. But like, what are your goals for this year?
I just want to win. I mean, the past 2 years have been not Northeastern basketball, obviously. Last year we had 6 freshmen, so obviously that's tough. The year before that one still haunts me because we just had so much talent that year. So I still think about that. I mean, we were up 20 on Colorado State, like a 5 seed, but it just didn't work out. But this year, I just want to win, I think the pieces we added are very good. We got some veterans. The freshmen from last year are a year older, which makes a huge difference in college basketball. And then for myself, just continue to expand my game. I've been shooting a lot more in practice, like threes and whatnot, which is kind of crazy. I never would have thought I'd be doing that. No, I think in the summer I shot one of the highest percentages on the team. I have stats to prove it.
Okay, you can follow it up. Okay. No, I'm going to ask Coach Murph. I'm sure he's kept.
I'm a better shooter because of him. Like 500 threes a day he makes me do. But
nice.
I think we're going to have a good year. I just hope we win. That's really all I care about. I mean, individual accolades are cool and everything, but winning is definitely the most important thing to me.
So here's my question. What are your growth goals? You personally, not the tangible goals like how many games you win and stuff like that. What are your goals?
Definitely keep my cool a little bit better. Last year was tough. I mean, I just hate losing, and I think that the losing kind of I showed it too much, like too much emotion. And then, what do you mean, like in terms of like skills?
No, not skills.
Like growth, like more
your growth, your personal growth.
Oh yeah, so definitely that. Not be so emotional. Be a better leader.
Okay.
I feel like I don't really lead by like vocally. I'm more lead by example, I'd say. So I've been not having classes in the summer. I've been able to be in the gym for like 6 hours, or not even in the gym, just like in the facility for like 6 hours a day. So hopefully the younger guys are like seeing that and just kind of following, even if it's not 6 hours, because obviously they have class and they got to be students. I don't have to do that right now.
You don't have to do that anymore.
No, not right now. But hopefully if they can just take parts of that and
you've been in college for
a long time,
but also a very interesting time in the changes. The NIL came in while you were in college. Your first time transferring, you don't have to sit out when you're in college. It's a really crazy time, and you transferred right before all that stuff came down the pipeline. And I think it makes it much harder for mid-major schools that don't rely on like one and done, that they typically rely on. Let's build a core. Let's get talented kids in when they're younger. Let's build them up, and then when we're veterans, we could maybe make some noise in the NCAA tournament, because what we lack in that, say size, or what we lack in top level, top to bottom talent or skill, we make up for in like team cohesion and toughness and being able to play together and being through adversity. But now you're playing in an era where like it's almost like if mid-major schools recruit freshmen that are too good too early, you're going to lose them because they're going to have the opportunity to go somewhere they couldn't coming out of high school. And you guys have lost some really talented young players while you've been there. I don't need to go through the list of all of them, but how do you guys as a team, how do you stay together and working towards this goal when like you have some pretty talented kids that, a couple of years in a row, they leave to go higher level, and it's not a Northeastern problem. I think people will look at it like, oh, well, what's going on there? And it's like, no, it's happening everywhere. If you look at the number of transfer, this epidemic, I won't call it an epidemic, but like it's like kids are getting opportunities now to be essentially free agents and be able to go right away. But it's really hard for a mid-major school. How do you guys keep together when there's that losing players like that in the offseason?
But yeah, so college has definitely changed since I've been there. I think mid and low major schools are definitely at a disadvantage in terms of the money that they can offer kids or whatnot through NLIs or whatnot. But I think at the end of the day, you just got to get a group of kids that love the sport. And if you have a group of kids that do love the sport, I mean, anything can happen if they're willing to put the work in. And people are going to leave, obviously. That's just the nature of college basketball right now. I don't know if they'll try to, police it a little bit better in the coming years, because kind of, in my opinion, I think it's out of hand right now. Like, And I don't even know if these NLI money, like the money that people are saying they're getting is actually,
you don't know what's real and what's
when
not.
you get on campus, you're there, like you might not get the money. So I just think it's crazy right now. I do think college athletes deserve to get some money or whatnot.
Oh yeah, me too. I absolutely think that you deserve. You know, if you can get it, you should get it. This is just not taking up my soapbox, but like, if schools can make the kind of money they make, I was never good enough and never played at a big enough school where like they'd sell my jersey. But like if you're when you were at say Pitt, I'm sure that they sold jerseys that had your number or Jerome Lane's number, and people know why. I'm buying that because I love that player.
Right.
But you're not seeing a dime of it, but the school's getting all of it. Like that's not right to me. And also if you're a college student, and you're doing anything else to be in college, you're allowed to make money in what your area of expertise is. If you do amazing on the SATs, you get into an Ivy League school. While you're in college, you can be an SAT prep tutor. If you're a medical student, you can be you can tutor, people, or if you have the time for that, like you can. If you're great at math and you're a math major in college, you can make a ton of money as a tutor during the off season, or you can work. You could, if you're in law school, you could work as a paralegal somewhere if you're able to find the time. Like saying that because you're a student athlete, you can't use your skill set to make money is crazy. So I definitely think that athletes should be able to make money, but it's also like you see the amount of transfers, and then you read about the amount of kids that enter the portal that then don't land anywhere. It's crazy.
It's crazy, I know.
Well, I mean, we're talking about, there are two sides to the coin, right? One, you've actually got to be good enough to make NIL money.
Yeah.
Most kids aren't. They're not good enough to be able to make the type of money that they believe they should be making. That's earned. That's earned through your stats. That's earned through how many games you win. Maybe that's one of the answers to helping the kids understand that, yes, college basketball is a business, right? I mean, you've put in time. Okay, here you go. You get a little bit more this year, a little bit more this year, instead of being promised something based on potential, right? Now, the unfair part is that, now it's changed since I was in school, because if I transferred, I would have had to sit out a year.
Yep.
Now you don't have to sit out, but you're still going to a program that has plenty of other good players. Exactly. Right. Yeah. So, change of address won't necessarily change the problem.
And now you see there's like kids transferring 3 or 4 times.
It's nuts. So that's the problem's not with the school; it's with the kid. It's wild, man. And one thing I loved about Northeastern is that like you've been saying that you've got a good group of coaches. If you're willing to sit down if you're willing to get in the gym and put in the work, they'll work with you. But if not, Bill will tell you, look, this place may not be for you. It's a business.
Yeah, he's a realist, yeah.
Right? He's going to tell you, and kids don't want to hear that.
I feel like Bill has a very different personality than a lot of head coaches. He's very quiet. He's very laid back. He's very, reserved and analytic. And I just feel like he's not a showman, and he's not a self-promoter, but it's to me it's kind of refreshing to deal with that and be like I might not talk to Bill as much as I talk to other coaches, but it always feels genuine when I talk to him.
I mean, for me personally, from my high school coach was pretty intense. John Carroll from AAU, he was a different level, but I mean, great coach and great guy. And then Coach Bray, kind of the same boat as Coach Cohen, laid back guys. But yeah, Coach Cohen, not many. I don't think kids understand at the high major, you can't just walk into your head coach's office and sit down and just talk about whatever. I mean, you can go talk to him, but it's not as authentic, as when you're talking to Coach Cohen, because he doesn't make it he's the most winningest coach in CAA history, and you'd think he's still new to the league the way he works, but he doesn't have any arrogance about himself. That's all the coaches there, which is awesome.
Yeah. Brian McDonald's he's not arrogant.
No.
No,
he might be the most hot head coach we have, to be honest. The Irish temper, but
is he still one of the most athletic assistant coaches in America? Can he still dunk?
Not dunk. He's getting old now.
Let me tell you.
He's not taking care of himself.
Let me tell you about Brian McDonald. When Brian McDonald was at Northeastern, and we didn't overlap. He's older than me, but Brian McDonald was a layup line superstar when he was at Northeastern. You know, he was a walk-on, but he was like a state, I think, high jump champion or something.
He's athletic.
Like, the dunks he used to do, but that was back when you weren't allowed to dunk in the layup lines once the refs came out, like 20 minutes before game time. So you had to show up like 40 minutes before game time. But he'd be doing stuff out there that was it was like he was a layup line superstar. He's maybe 6'2".
I didn't know he could dunk like that.
Oh my goodness, he was like elbows above the rim back in the day. Like, he was crazy.
I did not know that. Yeah. But I mean, some of the skill work he'll show us, and he has it still. So I mean, I'm not surprised.
So this is going to be your first year of graduate classes, is that correct?
I mean, they're going to be all online, which could be good and bad, I think. Maybe not having that structure for classes will be a little tough, but
dude, you've had 5 years getting structure.
After COVID really messed it up for me, to be honest. Like, I was really locked in at Notre Dame, and the COVID thing.
Yeah,
right. I had a little rough time at Northeastern. The coaches will tell you that. It's a tough school, though. Really tough. You don't realize it.
I do not do well with online classes, man. The lack of structure, it is tough for me to like stay on the ball. And it was always, anytime I took an online class, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is great. You know, it's a really cool looking class. I don't have to go into class. Like, always, no matter what, scrambling at the deadline of something being due. I remember even in grad school at like Northeastern, like being at Snell Library until like all night, like 24 hours, like rushing to get something done, submitting it from there because I was like, I need to go to the library. I'm not going to get this done. And then just like falling asleep in a chair at the library at like 4 a.m. when I finally got it.
Yeah, it was nice to have like a little break because I've been in summer classes and everything like for the past 6 summers, or 4 or 5 summers. So it was nice to have a little like time off. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, and it's only like 7 months, like fall and spring, so like only 6 months of locking in, and then I'm good with school forever.
So you mentioned that you want to play professionally afterwards. So the reason I asked you about your growth goals, and this may be something you want to consider, when you go to Europe, it's not like the NBA, where the NBA is a little bit different because you'll have guys around you who are paid to keep you on track. Okay, your day's pretty much full. You know, you've got to work out this time. But when you go to Europe, there is no one to do that for you. You show up at practice, you show up at the games, and other than that, your time is yours. Mm-hmm. So you are going to have to. You had mentioned you being hot-headed. Mm-hmm. So you are going to have to learn how to control that fire because they're going to expect you to be responsible for the other 9 players on the team because you're the American, right? Yeah. So all of that responsibility is going to be put on you, whether these guys get it, whether the other guys get it or not, right? Is going to be on you. So growing, continuing with your personal growth goals is going to be the most important thing because they will drive you crazy. Okay.
I heard it's a different.
It's also different because I mean, one, you might be somewhere where like there's only say 3 Americans on the team and you don't speak the language of most of the guys, but the Americans on the team are probably going to be in different places in life. A lot of teams, the good teams, the higher level teams, it's not like they're stacking it with like 3 24-year-olds. They've got a vet, or maybe 2 vets. So it's even the guys that you speak the same language as, you come from the same country, you guys might be at different places in life. So it's definitely, I think Bobby can talk to it a lot more, but like, you really kind of get to know yourself and really kind of have to find ways to not get into trouble and not go crazy from boredom or loneliness.
Because I was talking to John Mooney, actually, and he's been in Japan the last 2 or 3 years, and he said he's one of 3 Americans on his team, but the other 2 are like late 20s, early 30s with the family. So he said it's like tough. Like you hang out with them sometimes, but they have like other obligations, obviously. And he said you definitely have to like just find ways to keep yourself busy and keep yourself sane. Because I mean, being in a different country can definitely be tough. It's probably a cool experience.
Yeah,
that's definitely something that you have to consider. I'm going to say that this is professional basketball, And you have to do what's best for you, because that's the way the other Americans on the team are going to be thinking. They're not going to care if you are – they'll commiserate with you if you're cut, right? Oh, it's a shame, things like that. But no, the team won't. They will have somebody in there replacing you at the very next practice, and that's tough to deal with, right? You're being blamed, for what they perceive that you didn't get done, whether they're right or wrong. Those emotional hits are the ones that are going to determine who you're going to be and how long of a career you're actually going to have. Yeah, it's rough, man. It is really rough, and your personal growth, and I can't say it enough, is going to be the major contributing factor to your success.
So I guess, kind of heading into the end of the interview, it's been awesome, and I feel like we've really been on the ball, Bobby. Your questions have been fire today, and we've been, I think, organized, which is probably more my disorganization. But, you're heading into your final season. What feelings do you have just in general? What's going through you as you're heading into your last beginning of the school year and your last, official start of full team practice, and then your last non-conference, your preseason games, and what are you feeling right now?
It's just crazy to think about, because when you graduate high school, you just don't think of how quick it's going to go. I mean, I graduated high school 6 years ago, and it feels like yesterday. I remember, the fall of my freshman year at Notre Dame, I was like, you get a little homesickness. Yeah. You're like, damn, I got 4 more years of this. And you just think it's going to be forever, but the days might feel long, but the years go by quick, months go by quick, so I'm just looking forward to it. I know it's going to be over before I know it. But I just want to have a good year and just take it all in, you know what I mean? Because it's the last time. College basketball is something you'll remember the rest of your life. That's why I want to do 6 years. But no, I mean, I'm looking forward to it, and I think it's going to be a good year, and I've put the work in this summer, so I'm excited.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you, Chris, so much for joining us today. It was a really great
appreciate
show.
You.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Best of luck this season. I hope you guys go dancing again.
Go Huskies. Go Huskies.